like this, up. We up.
Welcome to the State of Hockey podcast, featuring Justin Jelnick and Joe Hayford. Let's talk hockey.
Welcome to the State of Hockey podcast, episode 12, edition for Monday, June 22nd, 2015. I am Justin Jelnick from the State of Hockey blog, along with my co-host Joe Hayford. Joe, how are you?
Not too bad. You mean episode 13, my friend?
It is episode 13. I'm reading the wrong page. Ha!
Trying to find a spot of weather lately that's going to dip under 70 degrees so I can open my windows up.
It has been a sticky week here, no doubt about that.
It's definitely not hockey weather.
Saturday morning, those storms woke me up at 5:30, and I had no chance of going to sleep. So,
yeah, storms mean bad things for me. Storms mean extra hours of work.
Oh, I suppose it does. Oh, man. So, being a technician and all in communication delivery, without explicitly naming your employer.
We have a joke at work that, well, it was more for April, but April showers bring mandatory hours.
Yeah. Nice. So anyway, so we took last week off, and the Stanley Cup Final ended last week, and winning the last three games, the Chicago Blackhawks lifted the cup. Joe, did you call that one?
I did call that one. I actually remember convincing you to call that one.
I was so wishy-washy on this, but yeah, I think I let you browbeat me into that one. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a good series, and I was probably cheering for Tampa more than Chicago, but I thought either would be a worthy champion this year. And it just seems to me in the end Tampa kind of ran out of gas.
Tampa had some big issues. Stamkos didn't really show up at all through the whole series. And I mean, honestly, when you watch their goalie get run by one of their own players, I really knew it was pretty much over for them.
Yeah, that was not a good goal.
Yeah, I'm sure Patrick Sharp would argue with you.
Well, he had his bad moments in that series too, but and he's probably going to be the odd man out in Chicago when their roster starts to dismantle.
I know I made a joke the other day. Former Blackhawk player, future Minnesota Wild player Patrick Sharp scored that goal, but
yeah, that's just when we need another forward that's not very good at defense signed to a bloated contract.
Well,
that spot's taken.
He'd put Vanek to shame, I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. He got roasted a couple times in the final anyway, so. But
yeah,
you're right. At least he is. I'll give him credit. He's at least in defensive position on occasion to get roasted.
Yeah, if I were to have to pick a Blackhawk player who's not going to be a Blackhawk player anymore, I'd probably pick Oduya.
Yeah, I think that's a good chance too. And I don't know what they do with Crawford either.
Crawford.
I think
Crawford is probably going to be out as well. Crawford might be the reason we signed Dubnyk, and we can get into that a little bit more because talks are going to heat up a little bit. But I'm pretty sure Crawford's the reason we're going to sign Dubnyk.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I guess we'll go ahead and offer our begrudging congratulations to the Central Division rival Chicago Blackhawks. 3 cups in 6 years. I mean, that's really quite a feat.
It is a great feat. It is definitely a dynasty. And they deserve it. Their team deserves it. Their true fans deserve it. All you bandwagon fans, I hope you fall off a cliff.
So what's the difference to you between a true fan and a bandwagon fan?
A fan that's been a fan when they weren't a good team.
Okay.
If you were a fan of the Blackhawks back in the 90s and early 2000s when they couldn't win 40 games in a year, then you deserve this. You really do, because you stuck through in hard times and came out on top and got to actually deserve and feel good about them doing as well as they're doing now. Unfortunately, it's all about to go the other way again, but you earned it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're going to lose a couple pieces for sure, and they definitely play in the toughest division in the league. But, you know, I still see them making the playoffs next year unless they lose a lot. They definitely are going to have to lose a couple pieces and hope they can backfill, but...
I agree with you. I think Quenneville is a decent enough coach, if not one of the best in the league, to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to be dominant anymore.
Yeah. I want to mention a bit about TV ratings. The Twin Cities market was a top 10 market for finals viewership, so go us, yeah. But Tampa turned in their best ratings of all time, and they were the second biggest market in the country, aside from Chicago, of course.
See, that's the other thing I kind of have a problem with.
Yep.
If you're going to be a fan, be a fan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the... If you saw the meme on Facebook, the guy who's like, yeah, they got black people liking hockey.
Oh, I did hear
By
about
the way,
that.
that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But I like the attention that the Blackhawks are bringing to the sport, and I hope that it creates true fans, but year after year I see on Twitter fans that are fans only when we're just about to make the playoffs or do make the playoffs, and then they're cursing the Wild the day that they lose it, or the first game that they lose.
Yeah.
So that kind of bandwagon negative, I'm just going to stay clean here and I have no time for that.
So, just the fans that only... it's kind of a hard argument for me because I get what you're saying that, you like to have the most respect for the most loyal fans and the ones that have been through the tough seasons and those of us that survived the Doug Riseborough era of the Minnesota Wild. Oh, horrible. So, just gives me chills. That day in 2008 when I heard the news that he'd been fired was a great day. But I'm rambling. So, but I also get, the playoff product of hockey is so much better than its regular season counterpart and, Olympic tournaments and whatnot. So I guess I guess I can somewhat rationalize the position that, if you only have so much time to be interested in sports, pick the best. But,
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously you're going to get more viewers during hockey season, but you shouldn't get... Tampa got a 60% boost in ratings during the playoffs. That's way bloated. Those are bandwagon fans that all of a sudden have been lifelong Tampa Bay Lightning fans.
Well, I'm just trying to give some credit to them as a market, because they've, for all the heat they take, I mean, they were top 10 in attendance this year, and they've done well in years past, and, it's not like they're the Florida Panthers.
That's true.
That's my point.
Yes, give them credit.
And they're not the Arizona Coyotes.
My bandwagon hatred is more towards bandwagon Blackhawk fans anyway. But...
Oh, yeah. Well, remember how bad the Blackhawks were attended last decade.
I know, and that's why I'm saying those fans really deserve this, and
Yeah.
I'm really happy for them.
I mean...
The ones that were there during that.
Yeah. So, well, good for them, except they've won 2 cups in 6 years, so that's enough. Before this year, so...
Yeah, 3 cups.
3 cups now with this one. So good for you guys. Hopefully the Wild can finish them off next year. It was so bitter the way the Wild went down.
Yeah, next year's our year. That's a Minnesota sports tagline right
sure
there.
It is. So I don't know if they'll ever, I don't know. I'd love to see them win it all, but I'm gonna enjoy the journey no matter how it ends. I think that's the truth.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
So,
I don't think we're too far off. I really believe that.
I really agree. So it'll be an exciting year next year. So we'll see how everything goes. Let's see. So I guess we can talk a little bit about the Arizona Coyotes. I don't know if you've been keeping up on their story, but it sounds like their city council is determined to end their lease deal because of a potential conflict of interest.
So where do you have them going?
Yeah, I probably have them going to Seattle just because it's come out that was where they were going to go before the Glendale deal was struck. They were going to have to suck it up at Key Arena for a couple of years until they could get something built. And that's probably it. They can't move to Vegas just yet. There isn't even a plausible building.
Well, no, there's not a plausible building, but
I suppose they could play at the Thompson Mack Center if they had to. I mean, IHL teams have played there, and it's a decent-sized building, but you don't know. So, and I don't think they want them to move to Canada because those markets are too valuable as expansion markets.
yeah, you don't want to move.
I think they're going to be able to soak Quebec City or where it's Quebec City. It's the next Canadian market, I'm sure. So.
Well, that's why I think you're right on the nose there with Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, or, I hate to say it, and I know that all the things in the world tell us something different, because Hartford was a horrible market, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hartford's where they're at.
Yeah, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, the Whalers are still to this day, a very big selling item for the NHL.
They are. But, I was just so crowded up there. I would sooner see, the Devils making a more minor move.
Yeah.
Than that, but we'll see. And who knows, this might all work out, and they might be able to find another place to play in Arizona. There's rumors they could move downtown again, which being in the suburbs is apparently what's really contributing to their getting crushed. It's not like football, because the Cardinals also play in Glendale, but their ticket holders will have to commit to 10 games a year. It's the reason, football is the only sport Green Bay could have.
Right.
They could never have the sponsorship to support, baseball, basketball, or hockey. So, Milwaukee could do those, but...
Yeah, definitely. If your arena's not in the metropolitan area, you're not going to be able to support 41 games a year.
Right, and that was the blunder. So we'll see what happens. I don't root for any franchise to move, except for the Winnipeg Jets, pretty openly right now.
What was that?
Except for the Winnipeg Jets, pretty openly right now because of the way their fans act. So.
Yeah, but they've always acted that way.
Yeah, it's true. And there's the media darlings too. They're so long suffering, and no. You think Katy Perry's a funny chant, and you like to make kids cry that wear John Tavares jerseys. Screw you. So.
Yep.
Oh boy, that was a tangent, huh?
Yeah, and I like the 4-game sweep.
Yep.
That was my favorite.
I did enjoy that too.
The whiteout.
Yeah. Well, to bring it back to the final, I think that's part of what happened to the Lightning is that while the Blackhawks were sweeping the Wild, the Lightning had let Montreal off the mat and pulled back to 3-2 after winning the first 3 games. So Tampa had played a 7-game, a 6-game, and a 7-game series to get to the final, whereas Chicago made quick work of the Wild, and so they were probably a little more rested.
Yeah, I'm still very angry at the Wild for not winning 1 game.
Yes.
When we were so desperately and greatly overmatched 2 years ago, we managed to pull a game out against them.
Right.
And Nashville had them on the ropes.
They were
earlier this year.
Remember 2 years ago, they were a Zucker crossbar away from winning the opener in that series.
That's true.
So I'm just saying, if the Wild didn't roll over, Tampa Bay are your 2015 Stanley Cup champions. I think that's a very reasonable take.
I would disagree with that, but I would say that it would have been a more interesting series.
All right, I'll give you that. So it was a very interesting series too. It was a 6-gamer. All the games were 1-goal games, but the only game Chicago lost were the ones in which Crawford gave up bad goals.
That's what a goaltender will do for you.
It is. All right, let's segue into the big news of the week then, huh?
Which one is that? There's many
Dubnyk watch.
Yeah, Dubnyk, and Russo thinks he won't be here.
I'm starting to see it unless Fletcher, is willing to make a big deal. And it's hard to justify that.
So there's many things that I think are happening that people may not go, maybe I'm a conspiracy nut, but the Cooke release, the Crawford probably not ending up with Chicago by next year. I think those 2 things are the reason that Dubnyk will be here next year. And I think Dubnik's going to get his 5.5 a year.
Yeah, I definitely think the Cooke release is about clearing some salary for sure. I mean, because he was due 2.5 next year, so, and I don't have his actual cap hit, but the way I read it is that they would.
I think its cap hit's 1.2.
Yeah, so they have to split that over 2 years, and yeah, so something like that. So it saves them a couple million in cap space next year. So that hopefully helps and I don't know if we have an official word on the cap. The number I've heard thrown around is 71 for next year, and the Wild have 61 already commit.
Well, that leaves us a goalie and a pretty decent second line forward.
Yeah, well, remember...
Or a decent blue liner.
So that means they would... To keep Stewart, they're going to have to get him on a deal without eating up the rest of their cap space. And they don't have... And Brodziak is probably out the door, and so is Bergenheim for sure. And who knows about Ryan Carter? And Mikael Granlund is due an extension as well, so because he's RFA this summer. And Hall is RFA this summer too, so they got a lot to do and only $10 million on which to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer.
Yeah. And they only have 5D commit right now too. Leopold, Ballard, and Prosser are all unrestricted, and Folin's restricted. So, and they might be able to keep him on a 2-way deal.
Yeah, they can keep Folin for sure on a 2-way.
Yeah, and then
I think Leopold's the guy that's going to end up staying.
I agree. I think, especially if he wants to stay cheap and do just one more year. I think that's a win-win deal if he's willing to do it from his end.
Yeah, with the autograph signings and everything that he's committed to for the summer, I've got Leopold staying here.
I hope so. I think he's exactly who you want in that 6-7 role.
Exactly.
So and he's definitely performed better here than anywhere he's been recently. So, I mean. I think that was a surprise because I think most people got into that trade because it was just such a sweet homecoming story. Because it was such a sweet homecoming story. But he actually did pretty good. I was pleased with what he brought.
You want me to bring my controversy to the Dubnyk talks?
Yes, bring your controversy to the Dubnyk talks.
So, if the Wild sign Dubnyk to more than $5 million a year, it will be the worst decision that Chuck Fletcher has ever made.
Now, I remember a couple months ago you were convinced he was going to get 7.
Yeah, I was. That doesn't mean I think it's the right deal.
Gotcha. So, I think I'm actually starting to wrap my head around where I'm comfortable with him getting 5 if it's a short deal.
I'm not, because we need so many other pieces right now.
Yeah. The problem is, if you don't get Kemper... Are the other options going to be any cheaper?
No, but you're going to have some more proven options available, like Mr. Crawford.
Yeah. But what if he doesn't hit the market? What if Chicago keeps him and just lets the other players go that we talked about?
Well, then that's exactly why. It's a bad move.
Yeah. It's a bad move to sign him if Crawford is unavailable?
Yeah, because then we'll have more room for the likes of Aduya or
I see
Patrick Sharp or Duncan Keith.
Yeah. But we know they don't want to start Darcy Kemper, and I guess Nicholas Backstrom kind of screwed Fletcher over.
Yeah, that was what I was also hoping on, too, was Backstrom being bought out.
Yeah. Although they would have got no cap relief on that, as I understand the CBA, because he signed his contract over 35. So, and that's, I'm sure, part of why Fletcher doesn't want to commit a lot of money, because he knows he's been burned. He got burned on the Backstrom deal.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Kemper's not over 35.
No, but they don't want to start
him.
I'm
sorry. Dubnyk is not over 35.
No, Dubnyk's not, so at least they would be able to buy him out somewhat, but get some relief.
I'm not a fan of a Brizgalov type deal here.
No.
But we need room for other moves.
Yeah.
And Dubnyk, as much as I hate to say it, and as much as I love Dubnyk, we haven't seen a big enough sample size from Dubnyk to know that he's worth it.
The thing is, when you take a second look at his numbers in Edmonton, his save percentage was always around 92, which is decent, especially considering Edmonton hasn't had a defenseman in a decade. So, and he looked good at his time in Arizona last year. That's part of why, he was the choice of somebody Fletcher could get. And he was certainly a better option than, say, even Cam Ward's contract. So.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I'm afraid that if we commit this money to Dubnyk, he's got to be Carey Price-like.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have a team around him that's going to support it. We did last year, but that team's falling apart because of cap trouble.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, the team's going to be in place. They got to do something with Granlund. For sure.
Again, I'm going back. We need to trade Granlund.
Maybe they trade him. Yeah.
He's going to cost us way too much money. And he really isn't as productive as people think he is.
It's just centers are so rare. You almost have to
apparently Kessler wants to come back.
Yeah. I don't know.
I get it. He's a small center, so that's why he's a little more expendable to me than Coyle.
He was so good 2 years ago, so I just don't want to write him off because this last year wasn't good. Maybe just take it as a blessing that, he's not going to cost you as much as he would have otherwise.
Here's the other reason that I'm a fan of Granlund leaving, because it'll force Fletcher and Yo to use Coyle in a different capacity.
Yeah.
And Coyle is going to flourish like he does when he's used as a main guy, like he is in the IHL Worlds.
That's true. That's true. I do like that. That was dynamite contribution on my part.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Coyle's just awesome when he goes to the net, and he just hasn't been used that way for whatever reason. So.
Yeah, it's a little odd, but
yeah. So, well, it'll be an interesting summer for sure. The draft is later this week. Free agency opens on the 1st, of course. And the Wild probably aren't going to be players unless they start moving other players.
Yeah, who knows? We might trade away a few of our draft picks.
What draft picks do they have left?
Yeah, all 4 of them.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years.
Yes, they got a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, a 6th, and 2 7ths next year. That's exciting. Or, yeah, this draft, I should say. And then in 16, they have a 1st, 4th, 5, 6th, and 2 7ths there. So, yeah, not looking good.
Yeah, I'm excited about the draft. I watched it last year, and I'll be going to the draft party this year. So
Sweet.
It'll be interesting.
That'll be fun. I'll at least try and catch what I can and read up on who the Wild take. But yeah, the draft is just one of those things I never get super into ahead of time, I guess. Yeah.
Watch NHL Network the day before the draft, and you'll be super hyped.
All right.
They have like player spotlights, team analysis. It's pretty cool. They do a very good job hyping the draft.
I do miss NHL Network. We downgraded our package a bit, and that was one of the casualties.
Oh, no.
I know. But then NBC got Catherine Tappan anyway, so that helped.
Yeah.
So,
but
no, I like a lot of what NHL Network had when I had it.
It's just so nice being able to pop NHL on anytime.
That's true.
You get to watch all the old games, and
it's true. And it'd probably help me out this summer. We'll see. When I make my... Yeah.
Got to listen to some SOTSO Pod, man.
Oh, I do that. So... I do that. That helps. Doing the show helps. Yes. Although, I don't know what shows we'll be doing this summer. We're probably going to try and get one together after the draft next week. But just as a note to listeners, might be a little more hit or miss. We're probably not going to do weekly shows like we did during the year. So... it'll be kind of like a mini hiatus, I guess. We'll just hop on when we're ready. And so just watch both our Twitter feeds, and if you follow the blog for new shows this summer.
Yeah, and if you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, it'll alert you.
That is a true fact. So that, yes, so you can always get us this summer if you need your wild fix when all of the sports radio stations are doing other things.
Isn't that like 365 days a year?
Pretty much. I will give the rights holder to the wild radio station some credit. They at least get into it when they're on. But yeah, when summer and fall comes, it's all Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings get basically a 5-hour pregame, and the Wild get 15 minutes.
Exactly. But that's just the popularity of the NFL, and part of why NHL is, your punk rock niche sport, which I like.
All right, we'll go punk rock niche sport.
Yes,
right.
I'm sure I stole that from Butcher Cross. So
it is. It's the Sex Pistols of sports.
Sure, let's go with that. So, all right. So Dubnyk, I'm starting to think he could be gone.
I actually hope he's gone. I don't think he will be.
If they come to like 4.5 with a 3 or 4 year deal, would you be comfortable with that?
I'd be okay with a 4-year, $4 million deal.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Because I think that's the sweet spot.
So you're comfortable
Fletcher doesn't want to do more than 3.
So
and Dubnyk wants 5 because of it.
Yeah. So you're comfortable if Fletcher walks away from anything higher than that?
I'm comfortable with that, absolutely.
Okay.
Because
I'm just so
I
nervous.
still think Kemper's a beast of a goalie.
I do too.
And there's plenty of fish in the sea, as they say.
There's a few fish.
Especially coming up here pretty soon.
So,
yeah, Anaheim's carrying basically 3 starting goaltenders, so they're going to have to get rid of at least one of them here pretty quick.
Right, and Ottawa's in that situation. Tampa Bay's even in that situation too, so.
Exactly.
So, we'll have to see how that plays out. I wish Kemper could have spent this year in Iowa. That would have been much better for him.
Yeah, he kind of did that to himself, but
he did.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So so clearly the Wild shouldn't be in a position where they're comfortable with him as the starter. I think,
not quite yet.
Yeah, I think if it is Dubnyk, for example, or whoever it is, I don't think they're going to ride him into the ground like it was last year. I think as a backup, Kemper can probably still expect 20-25 starts next year.
Yeah, I think you're about right. I think the other reason why signing Dubnyk, and this is a minor thing that really doesn't matter that much to me, but Dubnyk kind of demands more starts. That's the way that's the style that he plays with. Mm-hmm. And that's actually kind of like me. The more work, the better.
Right.
And when I don't have as much work, I kind of tend to slack off a little bit.
That's kind of a good point, too, because, if you sign Dubnyk to a longer-term deal, you're kind of closing the door on Kemper's prime, and he's going to have to be moved at some point if he's not going to get a shot to be the number 1 in 3 years.
Exactly, and who better to trade him to than the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah.
Man, they got a couple of kids coming up we could take. Koletka?
Mm-hmm.
Or Koleta?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
It's time for that mid-season Buffalo trade.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we kind of touched on this already, but I guess we should mention there was a move made this week, and a certain player has left the Minnesota Wild, much to my delight. The Wild announced that they waived Matt Cooke with the intention of buying him out earlier this week. And we've been kind of teasing this all ever since there's been a podcast. Joe and I have very different opinions about Matt Cooke as a player and as a personality. And Joe made us a little song to get us in the mood. So here we go.
For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the mash,
he did the
Matt Cooke.
the
mash.
monster mash.
It was a graveyard
He did
smash.
the mash,
It caught on in a
he
flash.
did the mash.
He did the
Matt Cooke.
from my laboratory in the car.
Oh, Joey, you have a good voice for that. So I think
I love how you picked that particular one. When I was recording that, my wife looked over at me and said, Why do you have to make it sound like an idiot?
Well, because you sound like the original singer guy. And I'm going to post the video that I used, too. This was actually a clip from American Bandstand with Dick Clark in black and white looking like he's 12. So I that's where I clipped the audio from. And, so we're going to talk the Matt Cooke mash, and I guess I'll be the one mashing Matt Cooke because my hatred of him as a player and as a presence in the NHL is very well documented.
Have at it, my friend. I will come with a rebuttal.
Yeah, so, well, the facts of the deal are, he was waived earlier this week, while wanted to buy him out, obviously because they're in need of cap space. So, and, I think he is somebody that I have not enjoyed having him wear my favorite team sweater for 2 years. I think he is an absolute disgrace. I think he shows no respect for other players. I don't think for 1 second he's reformed like the Wild PR department wanted to tell us 2 years ago. I mean, I can start there.
I'm gonna throw it to you like this, and this is a little bit personal to me because I've had that rage, that inner switch in me that just flips, and I get angry, and things end up bad for other people. I've had that in me before. Similar to a drug addict who can't seem to fight his addiction. It takes a lot to overcome something like that, to get that out of your system, especially when you're playing a competitive, very physical sport. So the things that he did before he went through the counseling and the anger management and turned this new leaf, so to speak, where he claims to be reformed, it took a lot of courage, a lot of guts, a lot of personal reflection that I have to give him very big kudos for. And I really haven't seen that type of anger and dirtiness that I saw when he was with, Pittsburgh. So, I mean, I get the hatred of Matt Cooke, but you have to respect the fact that he turned things around and he decided to do what's best for not only him, but for other players in the NHL.
Yeah. I'm a lot more cynical than you about his motivations, to be honest. How to begin here? Well, the most recent incident that was high profile was the Tyson Barrie incident last year, and he very clearly targeted the knee. I don't care what anybody else says.
Well, I'd argue with that as well. I looked at the video. I've watched that video several times. I even posted a couple of GIFs on it on my old Twitter account. He was going off on a change, and he was about to get beat. He stuck his knee out. It looked totally out of instinct, trying to stop a player from beating him back into the zone and going 2-on-1 with the goaltender.
Sorry, but 99% of players don't lead with their knees like that.
No, it wasn't leading with his knee.
That's what
he stuck his knee out at the last minute. Like, oh, I need to stick something out to stop him.
Yeah. But, no, most players don't do that. And
you're right, most players don't do that. Again.
And he deserved to get kicked out of that game, and I get it. If his name weren't Matt Cooke, he probably wouldn't get 7 games for it if his name weren't Matt Cooke.
You're right, he wouldn't.
But because it
is, this is what I'm talking about. I don't dispute that he was a dirty player.
He was filthy. He was beyond dirt. He's the bottom 0.5%. 99.5% of players that have ever played the game are cleaner than Matt Cooke. And I'm not going to kiss his butt because he crawled out of that bottom 0.5% sludge. I mean,
I'm not going to kiss his butt either. What I'm saying is he deserves a little more credit than people give him.
No, I disagree with that.
To just throw a guy in a category and label him as, despicable and disgusting when he made a valid effort to change who he is.
In 2010, he basically put an end to Mark Savard's career by throwing a high elbow, and he claimed to be reformed then. The very next year, he tries to decapitate Ryan McDonough in a game against the Rangers. And that was the first time NHL DPS decided to do anything about it. They suspended him for the last 2 weeks of the season and a playoff round in which the Penguins were eliminated. So, and it was really after that that he realized he was this close to losing his career, and that is the only reason I think he made any effort to change. He should have been done after the McDonough incident. The fact he continued just proves how little the NHL really cares about players that try and injure other players.
You know, this is a competition, okay? It gets physical, people get angry.
I get it. Stuff happens once in a while. Not with this guy. I mean, I can...
Yeah, once in a while is exactly what it's happened since he went through his treatment.
2 in 2 years? Yeah, the incident against Hornkoff, against the Stars. This is all going to be on the video that I post on the show page when we're done. When this posts. So, I mean, there's 2 incidents in a Wild jersey. In 2 years.
Okay. I'll tell you this. I haven't seen the Horkoff incident.
Yeah, it kind of got
I probably
obscure
saw it in
because
real time
that was
and didn't think it was dirty.
Yeah.
But you had looked more into it because you're a little biased on this subject. But here's the Tyson Berry thing was not an intentional "I want to hurt you" type of thing. It was
I
an
totally
instinctual,
disagree.
You're about to beat me into the zone 2-on-1, and I got to stick my leg out or my arm out or something out to stop you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Most players have more respect for others than Matt Cooke, the overwhelming majority. And I don't buy for 1 second he was reformed, and I'm not sorry to see him go. I'm sorry he's probably going to get one more job somewhere.
Have you ever been addicted to a substance or had any sort of addiction at all?
Not really. But I
Then
don't.
it's really hard to explain.
But do the other 99.5% of NHL players deserve to be at risk because that's his excuse?
No, I'm not saying it's his excuse. Like I said, he deserved to be kicked out of the game. He deserved to have his suspension because it wasn't a good hit. What I'm saying is that you're automatically assuming because it was Matt Cooke, it was intentional.
No, I'm assuming that because he stuck his leg out and led with his knee right into Tyson Berry's knee.
So everyone who leads with their knee is doing it intentionally?
When they move it at that moment, yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous argument.
I don't think so.
That was 100% instinctual.
I'm sorry, my instinct when I was a player, and not a good one by any stretch of the imagination, was never to try and knee a guy down. You know,
my instinct was never to do that either. My instinct actually was to hook him.
Yeah.
Which is what he should have done.
We've done that. So.
I'm just saying, the way he stuck out his knee, it wasn't like he was, skating 3 or 4 strides with his knee out. He put his knee out last minute and caught him.
Right, but... Well, I guess you guys can decide for yourselves here. I'm going to put the video up there of his history. There's 7 or 8 ugly ones. I don't think you can find another player in the league that matches that, at least in recent history. In the YouTube era, how about we go with that?
Chara.
Yeah, okay, that's one. And honestly, Savard, who I'm citing here because, Cooke cost him his career. But I mean, I didn't have a ton of sympathy because I know Savard has done things too.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm not saying Matt Cooke is a saint. I'm not saying he's a hero. I'm saying he deserves a little more credit and a little more respect as a professional athlete who takes time away from his family and his kids to entertain people than people give him.
He gets millions of dollars for that. I don't feel bad for his career choice one bit. And I think my criticism is part of what he earns his money for.
Oh. I agree with that, but he's going to have to grow up living with the stigma, or his kids are going to have to grow up living with the stigma that their dad is a goon, even though their dad tried to overcome that and was never given the benefit of the doubt after he did overcome it.
Well, that's a lesson to everybody out there, is that you don't always get a second chance, and you don't always deserve a second chance. The nicest thing I said about Matt Cooke during his tenure, and this was before the Tyson Berry incident, was he had done pretty well with a second chance he most definitely did not deserve.
And you know what? He might not have deserved it, but he got it, and I think that he utilized it. The one thing, and this is me and my anger issues getting the better of me, but whenever we were getting our asses kicked by the likes of the Avalanche or the Blues and the Jets or the Bruins, I was always hoping that old Matt Cooke would come out, and it never did. You know what? That's what told me that Matt Cooke's really reformed.
Yeah.
That old Matt Cooke never came out, no matter how dirty the other team got. It never came out. And that particular game where Tyson Berry got his knee taken out, the Avalanche were playing a relatively clean game.
To a point, I was actually at that game, and I thought they were actually playing rather filthy, especially with Mikael Granlund, which made it awesome that he got the winner in that game.
Well, yeah, okay.
But just to get on tangent of how
relatively,
yeah,
compared to how they normally play,
yeah,
it was a clean game.
Okay.
And
Stupid
you saw
monster.
Matt Cooke several times. There's scruffles after the whistle and players getting into it. And there you see Matt Cooke skating away by himself.
It's like Matt Cooke's reputation is that he never does anything after the whistle when confronted. He turtles.
Well, I've seen him do a lot of nasty stuff after the whistle.
Oh, okay, yeah. I get that. I meant more in terms of, doing one
and
of
that's
the
what I
drop
was
gloves
really
and
hoping
fight.
for him to do.
And thankfully, Evander Kane, in what I would contend is the best moment in Atlanta Thrashers history, destroyed Matt Cooke with two hits in a game, and that's my favorite hockey fight moment.
Okay. Well,
So
I don't know.
I mean, and I think part of your problem with my viewpoint is that I am, essentially blaming Matt Cooke for still having a job. I know full well it's not all his fault.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of my point.
I mean,
The man tried. The man has. You have to admit, the man is better than he used to be.
Yeah, but that little bit I will give you. But
how hard is it to change your personality, your general personality?
I don't know.
Do you think you'd be able to do it at all?
Why would I change? I'm awesome.
Well, I'm just saying. Everyone thinks they're awesome.
Yeah.
Especially professional athletes.
Yeah.
So just think about actually making the effort to change who you are.
I think if I were faced with the end of my career, I'd be motivated to at least try. And if you want me to say, I'll give him credit for crawling out of the bottom 0.5% sludge by only having 2 questionable incidents with the Wild, I will say that much.
So I despise that people focus their attention on the guys like Matt Cooke that give 110% in every single game, yet we sit here and watch Thomas Vanek sit there and get winded skating from the blue line to the frickin' red line. And that's okay to pay that guy $7 million. When Matt Cooke goes out there every week and gives his all and is the first guy back on defense and the first guy into the zone.
In fairness, Joe, you and my criticism of Thomas Vanek, very well documented.
I get that. I'm just saying.
But yeah, I get it. No, not all over the place. And I do want to get back to my other point that, it isn't all Matt Cooke's fault. It's Colin Campbell's fault for not coming down on him in the Savard incident in 2010. And it's Brendan Shanahan's fault for not kicking him out of the league after the McDonough incident in 2011.
Well,
I mean, what can I say? I want, Chuck Fletcher not to sign an available player. I can want that just because, I don't want him to wear my favorite sweater, but, if he's an option to a general manager, that's not Fletcher's fault, really.
Well, I mean, I guess if you were Fletcher, you wouldn't have signed him, but
Yeah, that's true, but
you can't tell me that Matt Cooke wasn't a good contribution to this team when he was
yeah,
healthy.
he's a good penalty killer, decent third liner, but there's a million decent third liners.
I think he's more than a decent third liner.
Yeah, I think we'll disagree there. I mean, maybe at one point, sure, but by the time he was here, I think that was his role.
Well, we can agree to disagree, but I still gets me hot and bothered that people are standing in line to bash on Matt Cooke, a guy who gives his 100% effort.
And I don't even think that's true. I think in the blogosphere, me and maybe Derek at State of Hockey News are the only two that completely rejected this I'm reformed notion at the time of the signing.
No. You don't read my Twitter feed, apparently.
Yeah.
The Matt Cooke hate is real.
Among Wild fans, or?
In general.
I get it in general, for sure, but I felt Wild fans generally wanted to apologize and forgive, and I've refused to do that, flatly.
No, and that's... Some dirtiness is part of hockey, and that's what you have to accept. I mean, I get not trying to kill people,
right,
like he used to do, but that's why I don't have as much a problem with Ott as most Wild fans do.
That's just dumb, and he brings no value.
It absolutely brings value.
No, he's just a sideshow freak.
He might be a sideshow freak, but guess what? Who did we concentrate on when we got frickin' our asses handed to us by the Blues? Who are we focused on?
The fans might have been focused on Ott, but the players
You
came through.
don't think the players weren't focused on Steve Ott and his antics?
They played one bad game, and then they took care of business after that.
Yeah, because they
Who went
freaking
home in that
realized they
series?
shouldn't.
It wasn't the team that it was the team that employed Steve Ott.
I'm just saying there is a use for a guy like Steve Ott and an Andrew Shaw.
It wins you one game that ends up being meaningless. Congratulations, Ott, you're useful.
There's a part of hockey that's useful in, and they used him incorrectly. I'll give them that, but you don't do that all game every game. Okay, when it's like fighting. You pick your spots.
Oh, I agree.
Andrew Shaw is probably the best at it.
And I have a lot more respect for players that fight than do what Steve Ott does and do what Matt Cooke does.
Well, what Matt Cooke used to do is what I have a problem with, and I get that.
Yeah, we're gonna fight over the tents.
Yeah, we are.
But that's okay. It's good. It's good. It's good to debate. It's good to keep each other on our toes. I know I can be quite forceful in my opinions, and it's important to have to back them up once in a while.
Well, mine is personal reflection, and that's something that I had very bad anger issues, and I know how hard it is to overcome something like that, and I feel respectful of him in that regard because I personally had to overcome that.
Okay. Well, I guess if that's how you connect, then more power to you. And if it makes you glad, that's good. But I just can't join you on that. And that's where I'm at. So Matt Cooke, no longer a member of the Minnesota Wild, bought out. We'll see if he gets one more job.
They'll get another job.
They'll really, to just pull this back to full hockey thing, the one thing that did surprise me is I thought Matt Cooke probably had some trade value.
I thought he had less trade value than he did.
Yeah.
I thought someone was going to pick him up on the waivers.
Yeah. That proves I was wrong about that assumption that he cleared. But, or at least at that price, I think knowing he would likely clear waivers, somebody's going to try and pick him up on a deal.
Well, I think that I think no one picked him up because they knew that the Wild were going to pay his salary.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
They're going to pick him up on the cheap.
I mean, I thought, maybe Fletcher could have got a pick back in some sort of cap retention deal for Cooke, but I'm not case, they guess they decided it's easier and cleaner to buy them out and assure themselves of what cap relief they do get from the move.
How old is Cooke?
He is in his 30s. Forwards. 36. So.
Oh.
So they got to be careful whoever signs him to the next deal.
Yes, they do. He'll get a 1-year deal.
That's probably
He'll live Yager style on a series of 1-year deals for about 5 more years.
Yeah, and I would not shock me one bit to see the 43-year-old Jaromir Jagr get 5 more 1-year deals.
No, it wouldn't.
The way
he wants to play till he's 50, he said.
He might just do it. I don't know. So he's
still a great hockey player.
He is. Isn't he gets to live in Florida?
He's still probably a top 15 hockey player.
Although I would never live in Florida in the summer, personally. I barely like it when it gets to 90 degrees here.
No, I know. I'm sitting on my porch right now. My 3-season porch, and it's
nice.
Freaking hot out here.
Oh, no, we got the air cranked to 71 at our house.
I don't have a quiet room like you do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is nice. I like having a house.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So, well, so I guess you're willing to wish Matt Cooke the best of luck.
Absolutely.
I am not, but that's okay. So, I guess one other thing to make mention of, the NHL schedule is set to come out later this week, on Thursday, I believe. And what are you looking forward to seeing?
I am looking forward to seeing which games I'm going to next year.
Yes, we're both partial season ticket holders next year, so we'll see that, I guess, and we know there's a Winter Classic coming, so.
Well,
not
the
Winter Classic, the Stadium Series, yeah. I'm sorry, what did you say about that?
Yeah, we already know who we're playing there.
Yes, that's true. So.
And that's, I think I have Hockey Day Minnesota in my plan.
Oh, nice.
I had the choice between the opener or Hockey Day Minnesota, and I think I picked Hockey Day Minnesota.
They haven't even come around us 10 gamers yet, so.
No, because you get like their set plans every year.
So we get
like, and they split up like the important days.
Right. So we get what we get.
So I get like Hockey Day Minnesota in the last game of the year.
Okay.
And I think the weekday plan also gets the last game of the year. So if that's what you got,
that is what we got. So I guess we got it in time. So.
You won't get Hockey Day Minnesota, though.
That's okay. I've never gone, actually, on Hockey Day. I'm actually content to sit at home and watch all 12 hours.
See, that's what I do, though, but I do it in person. You go to the tournament, then you go to the Gopher game, and then you go to the Wild game.
Yeah. And in years past, that because this year they had the game in St. Paul, and I have a friend that's a St. Thomas alum that went.
Yeah.
So, and but other years they have it in further places where you can't drive to them all. But I guess you can watch them all and then just head downtown during the Gopher game.
Well, no, they had it in Elk River this last year.
Oh, that was a couple years ago, because that was when Nate Prosser scored the winning goal in the Wild game that night. Yeah, no, this year's was at Holman Field in St. Paul.
Oh, Holman Field, you're right.
Yeah, because my buddy
You're
went.
right.
St. Thomas fan, and I think they lost to Hill Murray. Oh, I hear your birds coming through. That'll be nice in the podcast.
Well, there we go.
So it'll be like half outdoor show this summer if you keep recording on your porch.
This year we have to do a live show.
I'll have to figure that out. Oddly enough, I think it's easier to use Skype and mix it all. But I'd have to pick up like a mixing board or something if we were face to face ever to do a show. I mean, we've done a couple events face to face, but
yeah, and I'd have to get some headphones of some sort, some nice ones.
Well, we'll have to figure that out. So, but all right. Well, I think we can bring this week's show to a close. And like I said, we're not sure how many we're gonna do this summer. We're gonna do kind of a semi hiatus because both of us actually have some projects that are keeping us busy. but we will work out shows when we can. So just keep watching us on the Twitter box. I'm Satso Hockey JJ, and Joe is at Satso Hockey Joe. And your comments are always welcome. Use the hashtag at SOTSOPod, SOTSOH pod, or just reply directly to whatever we make tweets that solicit that. So.
Yeah, and congratulations to Andy on his new child.
Yes, our former producer, Andy Carlson, gave birth to little daughter, Margaret Muggsy. Wonderful. I've seen all the pictures. I can't wait to meet her. And, so I hope he's doing well. And he's starting his Dad Mode podcast, too, which is pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, there you go.
So, alrighty. Well, I guess that's it. Joe, you got anything else?
No, I think we're, I'm all heated out, I think.
Alright, well, you go inside and find your AC, and we will get this show on the road, and we'll let you know when the next show is on the Twitter machine. So, for Joe Hayford, I'm Justin Jelnick. Thanks for listening this week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the State of the Hockey podcast. The music was created and produced by Deeb. To hear more of his tracks, visit soundcloud.com/Deeb.